If there's one type of game that's gotten a bad rap for being totally sucktastic, it's got to be the movie game. And who could argue against that? Some say E.T. on the Atari 2600 alone is responsible for the video game crash of '83. They're that bad. So it's not really that hard to pick out 10 crappy ones when there's a whole sea of them. But what happens when you look at the ones that don't suck? It's not a matter of if the movie the game was based off was good, just the game itself. Hey, I'm Stuttering Craig for Screw Attack's Top 10 Movie Games.
Number 10.
Alright, let's start this thing off right. In the arcades. Remember how just one dinosaur meant someone was going to die in the Jurassic Park films? Yeah, that rule doesn't really apply in the Lost World arcade game. Oh no, there's a whole swarm of raptors in the movie. What should we do? Get the heck out of there. Oh no, there's a whole swarm of raptors in the game. What do we do? Lock, load, and blast the ever-loving crap out of them. There's nothing that isn't a threat in this game. Even the Brachiosaurus thing that I thought was so gentle, he freaking poops on you. That's so much fun. That poop's not fun, but... Oh, and you want to know how somebody's really pro at these arcade light gun games? They shoot like this.
Number 9.
Sticking in the arcades, T2 the arcade game put a mounted gun in your hand and lets you unload on T1000s. You know, I actually kind of find it ironic that Arnie the Governator himself wants to put a cap on the sale of some T-rated games to children. Arnold Schwarzenegger, you made money off one of the greatest shooting games to hit the arcades. I mean, it was amazing for us youngsters when we first played it. Just shooting everything in sight, T1000s, giant Wallies or Robs, whatever that thing, just blowing everything up. It was great. But you know, for someone who was a poster boy for violence back in the day, Arnie seems to have had a change of heart. I mean, the dude made money off this arcade game, and yet he wants to put a block on the sale of some T-rated games to children? M-rated games? Totally understandable. But seriously, Mr. Governator, just don't forget that it's the constant stream of violence in this arcade game that made it so much fun and lined your pockets with cash.
Number 8.
Who doesn't wish they were Spider-Man? Yep, nobody. While there have been many Spidey games in the past, Spider-Man 2 was the first to get it right. The controls let you do pretty much anything you wanted, and the fact that you had all of New York to do it in made it an unforgettable movie game experience. I mean, it was actually the best part of the game. Yeah, following the actual story was okay because they added a ton of enemies from the comics, but going for a nice swing through NYC and stopping crimes was what it was all about. A game that was actually as good as the movie, if not better? No. Too bad they had to go F it all up with Spider-Man 3. Freaking emo Peter Parker.
Number 7.
Tron the game is what happens when you base a game off a movie that was based around video games. Simple yet fun, the game became an immediate hit in the arcades. You've got tanks, rotating cone things, this thing, but what people really want to play are those light cycles. It's kind of like if you took that game you played on your graphing calculator or phone, you know, Snake, and killed people. It's so fun. The game's so simple and fun, Tron should be ported to Xbox Live or PSN in the future because nobody doesn't want to relive this classic. And I'm just throwing this out there. If it does get a re-release, we demand the Tron guy be in it, because that guy's awesome, in a really lame kind of way.
There will be pictures of me in this costume floating around the net for as long as there is a net.
Number 6.
Parents, before buying this game for your children, please take careful notice of the ESR feed rating labels on this one because X-Men Origins Wolverine, well, it's one violent little bit of entertainment. Who am I kidding? Your parents are not watching this. You play this watered-down version of the movie with giant robots and stuff, but who cares? I don't, because you can do this. And this. And also this. And you can do it all while dressed like the classic Wolverine from the old days. Now that is some fan service. I mean, sometimes it's okay for a game to have almost nothing to do with the movie as long as the title's the same. Speaking of which...
Number 5.
Batman on the NES gave a giant screw you to the Burton films. It was pretty much its own thing. And one of the best things about it, it was hard too. Fortunately, you got some cool power-ups on your way to take down Joker. You've got batarangs, a pistol that shoots missiles, a shuriken that just hones everything, and the Batman. Using those long-range weapons eventually makes you run out of ammo. But when you want to play conservatively, you can always Batman your enemies to death. In other games, it's just a punch, but in this one, you Batman. We love the movie, and we loved the game.
Number 4.
So here's a little story for you. Aladdin the movie scares the piss out of me. It's not that the movie is scary or anything, it's just that going to see Aladdin in the movies was the first date I ever went on. I was in 6th grade and went with Darcy Walkalock, who was in 7th, scoreboard, and after being scared shitless the entire movie and doing my best to stay away from her the entire time as her friends a few rows back giggled and watched her every move, Darcy Walkalock took her left arm, draped it around me, and put me in a headlock and brought me in for a little TLC as Aladdin and Jasmine are flying off into the sunset. True story. And that's why Aladdin is number 4.
Number 3.
Now, there's a lot of good Star Wars games out there, but with our one game per franchise rule, we had to get down to the nitty-gritty and head back to the arcade. No, not the original Star Wars arcade game. I'm talking about Star Wars Trilogy Arcade. That is, the original trilogy. Taking you through episode 4, 5, and 6 most exciting scenes in first person, this machine had it all. Aerial dogfights, high-speed chases turning into on-foot missions, epicness happening on Hoth, and of course, the fight with Vader. And you know how he played it all? Take a look at this control scheme. Yeah, none of that works except for the joystick. You don't need a Wiimote, just a joystick and 2 buttons. Classic.
Number 2.
You're bald, you wear goggles, and you bust some ass. I'm talking Vin Diesel, the movie game, also known as Riddick. You want some masculine? Yeah, you just listen to Vin Diesel's voice.
A med station takes away the hurt, leaves the pain.
I mean, what dude doesn't want to sound like that? Chicks would be all on your balls. The Uloks, though, they're by far the best part of the game. Stabbing people in the face probably has never been as satisfying as it was in Riddick. Those things should be added to the armory or something. Oh, wait. Never mind. Nice job, Destin. The world needs more games where Vin Diesel pretty much just plays it himself, because sometimes we all just need to feel a little bit more manlier inside. Oh, and did I mention he actually plays Dungeons and Dragons? What a dork. All right, let's hit the old movie game recap before we get to number 1. Number 10, The Lost World Jurassic Park. Number 9, T2 the arcade game. Number 8, Spider-Man 2. Number 7, Tron. Number 6, Wolverine. Number 5, Batman. Number 4, Darcy Walkalock. Number 3, Star Wars Trilogy Arcade. And number 2, Riddick.
It's number 1.
You saw it coming, but how dare you argue against it? GoldenEye is still to this day hailed as one of the most beloved FPS games ever made, let alone a movie tie-in. Actually, does anybody even remember the movie? Bring up the name GoldenEye the next time you and your friends are sitting around discussing James Bond, and you tell me the conversation doesn't suddenly shift to video games. Go ahead, I dare you. Both of you watching this who have no clue what makes GoldenEye so great, just here, watch this. Yeah, GoldenEye's pretty hard to forget. When a game comes along and totally revolutionizes console FPS games like GoldenEye did, you know you got yourself the greatest movie game of all time. Let alone the only game to top a Screw Attack Top 10 twice.